So I'm totally working on my product placement here. So I got my Syracuse cup over here, my Islanders over there. If you look in the back over there, you got the little Syracuse fan and then the Jets pillow in the back. So welcome to Seth and Sean Sports Radio. Hopefully Seth can now
hear you.
I have no idea why. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we can hear you. We can 100% hear you. I think I'm having your baby.
Are you having a baby?
No, you having. So you can't hear me at all. So this is awesome. Awesome. I can hear you. I know I can hear you.
Can't hear.
I don't know why.
Keep going. Take me off and I'll do what I can. All right,
we'll keep coming back. So anyway, so we're going to try. I'm going to keep looking why Seth can't hear me. I can ban him from the studio. I can edit his name. I can edit his mic settings. I don't think editing the mic settings is going to help him. Well, hopefully you can figure that out and he'll join us. Thanks again last week to Mitch Beyer and to Mark Rubin for stepping in and taking some time and talking all hockey and all Boston fans out there, the massholes. And you got to think it was like Cup Day, like Hatchet Day in the NBA today. So Scott Brooks is out with the Wizards. Stan Van Gundy, after 1 year, is out with the Pelicans. Donnie Nelson, after 24 years, is out with the Mavericks. That's a huge deal. And Nate McMillan is currently on an interim coach in Atlanta, but the expectation is he will be rewarded with a new contract after the playoffs. So let's go through this. So the teams missing coaches: Boston, who we know; Indiana, who we talked about; New Orleans, Stan Van Gundy; Orlando, getting rid of Steve Clifford last week; Portland, getting rid of Terry Stotts, who Seth said absolutely.
Here you go. You can hear me?
I can hear you. Well,
God damn it!
I can hear Mia.
You sound fine. You sound fine to me, except you're wearing all orange. Good Lord! You've had one good week in 20 years, and this is what I get.
Well, I can hear myself as I'm talking from your speakers.
Well, is this any better?
Yes, much better.
I can't hear. I don't know what to tell you.
Let me see if I can find. Wait. Let me see if I can find something else.
Wow, Sean just left me on. Sean never leaves me on by myself. He's afraid of what I'm going to say. But you know what? Oh, okay. It was a good run while we had it. Can't hear a word.
Awesome.
Now I can hear you.
Okay, so maybe I find a little low. So let's try. Nope, I can still hear myself through your speakers. So anyway, no. I'm gonna try something. Audio.
I mean, I'll be honest. It's kind of fun having you muted, but it's hard to have an actual discussion.
I'm not muted anymore.
No, now I can hear you. You're echoing, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, let start talking. I'm gonna try. So anyway, we're talking about Cup Day in the NBA.
Interesting day.
Yeah, Doc. And Steve Clifford's gone. Scott Brooks gone.
Yep.
Terry Stotts is gone.
Yep.
Yeah. A whole lot of jobs.
60. I think there's 6 jobs available. Not sure if Atlanta is included in that, but they're obviously going to give Nate McMillan. If Nate McMillan wants to stay, they're going to give him a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff out there. You have the ex-players like Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups. You have the the women coaches, Becky Hammon. Teresa Witherspoon apparently has a legitimate shot down in New Orleans. Dawn Staley. And you have your kind of your retreads. Kenny Atkinson, Mike Brown. Now I can kind of hear a little bit of an echo as well. And I guess you look around and you try and figure out what is actually the best job out there. Because some of these jobs, which is interesting, because these jobs aren't horrible jobs. They're not great jobs. But they're not terrible.
Well,
I'm actually pulling up the list right now.
New Orleans has to be the best job.
I would think so.
I mean, you have the most talent. Are you re-signing Lorenzo Ball? Lonzo Ball. Are you re-signing? That's the only question for that team.
My gut is you are, again, depending on the coach you bring in. So I think they're gonna make a move pretty quick. And as you said, you have Lonzo Ball, you have Zion, you have Ingram, you have Alexander Walker. You have a nice team. You have nice young talent, I should say. The hope was that Redick, when he was there, was going to help kind of be a veteran influence. Same with Bledsoe. It didn't work. The West is also very good.
Well, the top four players on that team are under 23. So
yeah.
You need a younger guy. You need either Witherspoon or Becky Hammon, something like that.
Well, you and I both think Becky Hammon's going to end up in San Antonio next year, or in 2 years, or whenever that happens. It does seem like an inevitability, though, that within the next 2 or 3 years we'll have a woman coach in the NBA, which I think is great. But yeah, I mean, look, Portland is not a bad job, as long as Lillard's not requesting out, and that may be contingent on who they bring in. But Lillard's never struck me as the guy, and as Sean knows, Portland is actually the team I root for more than anyone other than the Nets, and Lillard's my favorite player in the league. He doesn't strike me as the guy. He's never been a guy who's requested a trade despite the frustration of the last 5 years. I'm not sure if he's going to get one now, and I don't know who's going to make an offer that would make it even worthwhile. I mean, you had brought up a Knicks offer, which I hated. I don't see what's out there where they would do it.
Well, we talked about who has enough salary to take him back. And
right.
There are very few teams that can make that happen. But if they're not going to make that happen, then there has to be a CJ McCollum trade.
Yeah.
And I fashioned the trade, and let me
I liked it. It was
think about this.
This was the McCollum and Nurkic for Porzingis.
No. I was going. Indiana trades Jeremy Lamb and Sabonis for McCollum and say Damian Jones. So Sabonis goes back to where his father is a legend.
Mm-hmm.
He plays.
Wait, he's going back to Russia?
Well, come on. He goes to Portland where you can play next to Nurkic. Jeremy Lamb slides into that two spot, or Anthony Simmons. CJ McCollum plays in Indiana. That two spot is Malcolm Brogdon, but Malcolm Brogdon can always play
the point.
number one.
He can go to the point.
And CJ Warren still plays the three.
I have to look at I'm pulling up on Hoops Hype. I'm pulling up the contracts.
It works.
That's not bad.
Thank you.
I mean, you're trading one All-Star. Now the question is for Indiana. Portland, I think, does it.
100%.
Indiana, I think, is more of the hesitation. Because you have McCollum.
The problem that Portland has is they have no first-round picks. So they can't trade one this year. So there's no kicker that they can add. Let me ask you this. If it was Robert Covington instead of Damian Jones, does that make it better?
I think here's a problem. Sabonis is signed, if they're both signed for 3 more years.
Yep.
McCollum is at almost double the salary.
Yep.
So you're pretty much hamstringing Indiana. Now, I don't. So you said Sabonis and who's the other? Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy Lamb comes off. How is this? How does this trade work? If I guess this Indiana's under the cap.
Hold on. NBA trade machine.
Sabonis. They still have the NBA trade machine. Is that on the Ringer?
Nope. It's on ESPN.com. So I'm going to bring it up. Hold on. Indiana. Portland. So I'm going to share my screen so we can do this while we're doing this.
This is fun.
Yeah.
I haven't done the NBA trade machine in a while.
All right, so here we go. So Sabonis at 19 million.
Yep.
McCollum's 29. Jeremy Lamb's Jeremy Lamb's 10. I did it again. There we go. And I said Damian Jones.
I think you're going to have to give up a better player.
Wait, why did this work last time?
I still can't find the damn trade machine.
Oh, I think I put Zach Collins in instead of.
He's expiring, isn't he? He's got to be expiring.
It's a sign and trade.
Yeah. But the problem is, I don't know if you want Collins because Collins can't stay healthy. Oh, here he is, NBA trade.
All right, so let's take out Collins. Let's take out Lamb. And let's figure how this works. The problem is Karis LeVert is their shooting guard. So he would have to go back to a sixth man. So if you put in McDermott with Sabonis and you put in Damian Jones, that should work. Nope, doesn't work. Darn it. I thought I had this. Hold on. That works. 26, 35. Oh, so I got to add. So if it's Norman.
Norman Powell's a free agent, I thought. Or is a restricted free agent?
So I got to add more to. I had this working before. I don't know why.
Yeah, you did it
anyway.
McCollum and
CJ McCollum for Doug McDermott and Sabonis.
I'm not sure Indiana makes the trade.
Okay.
Again, McDermott, I believe, is a restricted free agent or a free agent forthcoming.
No, he's got one more year.
But the problem is, if you're Indiana, why do you want this deal? You traded for LeVert, who you think is going to be your 2 guard. Warren is your 3. I mean, realistically, you have a solid starting 5 with Brogdon at the 1. I'm not sure McCollum will fit on any team, but are you really going to trade your best player to get him?
Well, and I think that's the question, right? So let's try this again. Let's try with the Raptors, right? So the Raptors will be looking because Kyle Lowry's gone, supposedly. But the problem is then you have Fred VanVleet. So is he playing your point guard?
Yeah, you can move Van Vliet to the point, I think.
All right, so let's try that. Rodney Hood goes back. I don't see Baines. Take Baines. Nope, that doesn't work.
But I guess the question is, if you're Portland, who do you want?
Right. Well,
you want Siakam.
Wait. But Toronto has a first-round pick.
Right, but my point is, if you're the only person, if you're Portland,
that works. I mean, straight up Siakam and McCollum, but I'm not sure they do that.
Toronto's not going to make the deal.
Right. Exactly. So if you're looking at other teams that would be able to make a CJ McCollum deal, I mean, you said Dallas before, and that makes sense because you could deal Porzingis. But now you have Porzingis and Nurkic.
Well, let's play for a second. It's been a while since we've done this, so hold on.
That works. There you go. Here's your trade.
Porzingis and sorry, you're moving quicker than I am.
It's Porzingis and Josh Richardson from McCollum and Nurkic. I'm not sure Portland does that.
From McCollum and Nurkic?
Yeah. But
that's not bad. That's not bad.
I wonder if you added Finney Smith, whether that would work. That would work too. I think that's the trade. Porzingis, Josh Richardson, and Dorian Finney-Smith for CJ McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic.
I guess the question is, who do you think is the best player in this deal?
I think Nurkic is probably the best player. At $12 million.
Not the best bargain, the best player.
No, I think he's the best all-around player. Remember, the guy's got to stay healthy too. And Porzingis doesn't stay healthy.
That's not bad.
I like this trade.
Yeah.
I mean, according to Hollinger, the Mavs win 15 wins on this trade. He's not a big fan of Richardson or Finney Smith. But Finney Smith gets 3 years at $4 million.
Right, which is. Are you sure that's not minus 1.5?
Nope.
Minus 15 wins. Jesus Christ.
I don't understand. I think you're probably right, though. No, it says 15 wins.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. So let's go back off this. So we said that the best job is probably New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the worst job?
Well, going through the teams quickly, who needs Indiana needs a coach. That's not a bad job. The Wizards is a problem because Beal's in his last year, and unless you know Beal is going to resign, which nobody knows, and nobody can blame him if he leaves, that's a dumpster fire. As good as they were at the end of the year this year, because without him, they're a young team with a little bit of talent. Orlando is not a particularly great job because you're rebuilding, and you're rebuilding around Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, who are coming off injuries.
Yep.
So Orlando's probably the worst job out there.
But when you look at Orlando, there's nowhere to go but up, right?
Yeah.
There's no expectations with that team. And that's not to say. Remember, Steve Clifford lasted 3 years with
Steve Clifford. Steve Clifford's a good coach.
He is. No question. So Washington has Beal for next year, and then a player option.
But he's gonna opt out. Yeah, he's gonna opt out.
I think he's gonna resign. I think he's gonna stay there.
He may look. He has never given any indication that he wants to leave, but he's been there 7 years and they've never won a playoff series.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you? So let's move on. What do you think about the Sixers and the Hawks?
I think whoever wins is going to get beat by the other side, by the Milwaukee Brooklyn series. Embiid looked exhausted and injured last night. Atlanta's not ready to win a conference final. And Philly, without Embiid at 100%, can't beat either of these teams. Although, with the Nets, who the hell knows what we're dealing with at this point. I think Philly wins the series. I think they win it in 6. But I'll tell you something, Atlanta's a year away from being really, really, really interesting.
But are they interesting with John Collins or without John Collins?
I think now, again, I don't know exactly. I was looking at what the cap is for them. I'm pulling a Sean Palmer. So they go 20 million off the cap next year. No, they go 30 million off the cap next year, with 6 guys leaving. And then they have and Chris Dunn has a player option which he'll keep. I think it depends on what you get Collins for. If Collins wants max,
He's going to make max money.
if Collins wants max, I think you got a problem. If Collins will take 20 a year, and I don't know that he will or won't. I don't think he will. 5 years, 100. 4 years, 80. Well, he's never been. Well, what is max for a guy who's never been? It's a second contract. He's never been all pro. He's never been top anything. What's the most you can pay?
One second. So last year he got offered a 4-year, $90 million contract, and he turned it down.
Okay.
So max contract with no money. With no first team and whatnot would be 4 years and 129.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's giving him max. I think everyone is saving for the next year, when everyone's a free agent. I don't think someone's gonna pay him $32 million a year. I think he may get 25 to 27, and at that number, Atlanta may match.
Well, let me ask you this: if you are the Dallas Mavericks, and you have Porzingis, and you have Luka Doncic on one more year for rookie contract, which means you could conceivably have $27, $28 million under the cap for one more year. Because once Luka signs his extension, that cap room goes away. Do you take a shot on John Collins being that guy? Because I do if I'm Mark Cuban.
He's athletic. He's young. He can shoot the three. He's a good player. 4 years, 110.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the Knicks have a spot, and that's not to say that they will with Randall.
The Knicks aren't a fit. The Knicks are not a fit with Randall. Randall and Collins are the same position.
Toronto's a fit.
Toronto's got Siakam at the 4. How's Toronto a fit?
Well, they have OG too.
They have OG at the 3. He's not a fit. I mean, Sacramento. I mean, I'm looking at who has cap room. Oklahoma City has cap room, but I don't think he's going to go to Oklahoma City. But I mean, good Lord, Oklahoma City has. They're going to trade Al Horford and 2 first-round picks to get rid of him. And then Oklahoma City's got $1 zillion of cap room, plus young, talented players. The question is, does anyone want to go to Oklahoma City?
Right. Well, and the other thing is Oklahoma City, do they have any extension people? I mean, Houston has a ton of cap room. San Antonio does.
Okay.
Toronto, Orlando, Chicago. New Orleans.
Let's hold on. Let's talk this one at a time. Oklahoma City has Gilgeous-Alexander. He's extension money. They don't have anyone. I don't think they have anyone else who does. I mean, there's people they're going to want to keep, but I don't think there's anyone else that they're going to extend. But they also have 16 first-round picks in the next 5 years. They're set. They may extend Dort, but he's making $2 million a year for 3 more years. They're not going to. You're in no rush to extend them.
Correct.
San Antonio. I don't think there's anyone really in San Antonio that you're dying to extend.
No, you got Murray under contract. You got White under contract.
That's all that matters.
Yep. You'd have to let go of DeMar DeRozan at 27 in order to fit
talk to
him in. But I think you would be able to fit him in. And Rudy Gay, too. And they don't have a power forward on that team.
No, because Aldridge is gone. Well, Aldridge is gone, obviously. He's retired. Yeah, I mean, they're losing a crap load off theirs.
I'm just saying there are options for John Collins.
Yes, there are.
Going back to there.
But there's no team. There's no team as good that he has the option to go to.
No, that's true. And they can go over the cap to go sign him. The question is whether they're going to spend that money to do it. Because they're going to start hitting luxury tax real quick. And they still have DeAndre Hunter next year.
Yeah, but are you really wanting to no, wait a minute. They have DeAndre Hunter for 3 more years.
No, DeAndre Hunter. Hold on.
He's only in his second year. They have
DeAndre Hunter has a club option for 22
in 3 years, in 2 years.
No, two.
In 2 years, and then he's got a player option, a qualifying offer in 3 years.
Right. So I'm saying it's extension eligible if they want to do that.
Are you DeAndre? They have swingmen. They have Gallinari and Bogdanovich and Herder. Why Hunter hasn't proven to be somebody that you need. The only players you need to extend at this point are him and Trae Young. Trae Young and Collins are the two best players. I mean, Bogdanovich you have signed for 4 more years. Gallinari's for 3. Capella's for 3. You're going to try and keep Herder, but you're probably not going to be able to. Because he's going to be a $10 to $15 million player in a year or two. So you might as well. You have a team that could significantly contend. Philly doesn't have the scoring power this team does. Milwaukee, I mean, can't seem to get out of their own damn way, as we could see last night. And the Nets are fragile. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You're not going to get anyone better in this going into next year, because Kawhi's certainly not going to go there, and he's the only free agent worth a damn. Where else are you going to go? I mean, look, you can go to Dallas. It makes sense, and Dallas will be a good team, but the East is a much easier run. Look, unless Collins just doesn't want to be there, and then you sign for $25-26 million with whoever's going to pay you.
Well, and remember, as far as power forwards are concerned, they have Gallinari. They just drafted Okungwu, who I can never pronounce his name. The guy out of USA.
Okungwu, but he's more of a center.
And they have Collins, and then they have Capella too. So
yeah, this team is very deep.
Yeah. And I would say that this was a team for CJ McCollum, but you couldn't put.
How do you put McCollum, Gallinari, and Bogdanovich on the same team? It makes no sense.
Exactly. Defensively, that doesn't work at all.
Well, to be fair, defensively doesn't seem to matter with this team in the first place.
That's fair. I was listening to a couple of broadcasts yesterday where they were trying to compare Trae Young to somebody. And somebody brought up Allen Iverson. And I was like, he's tiny Archibald.
Yeah, that's not a reasonable comparison. Young is a much better passer. Iverson, an extraordinary scorer, extraordinary everything.
I mean, when motivated. Led the league in
steals a couple times.
You're never going to see Trae Young do that.
No, you're not. But I don't think this team beats Philly. I mean, do you?
No. I think if Embiid is able to play, they win. And then they get to face Milwaukee with Giannis, who has been MIA. Again.
No, he wasn't MIA. He was 34 and 12.
No. I'm not talking about putting up numbers. I'm talking about if you're Giannis and you are excuse me, it's Giannis. If you're Giannis and Kevin Durant is scoring 49 on you, when do you step up and say, I'm gonna guard you? I'm on the all-defensive team. Why can I not guard you?
It was an unbelievable performance by Durant last night. I mean, that they won that game is absolutely astounding. That literally him and Jeff Green, we're playing back to the Seattle Supersonics of going back to 2010. If you watch the game, there is no way they should have won that game. And Durant, for all the grief that Durant has gotten over the years from a leadership and this and that, man, the guy can play.
He's the best player in the NBA.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, Giannis said it last night at the press conference. When healthy, and I guess the question is, nobody has seen this kind of game from him since he's been injured. And when he was in Golden State, he didn't need to have those games because, even in Oklahoma City, you had Westbrook, you had for a little while Harden, you had really good supplemental players. Golden State, you had world-class players. I shouldn't say supplemental for Oklahoma City. Christ, Westbrook's a Hall of Famer, Harden's a Hall of Famer, but you get my point. But this was the rare game where it really, Harden was 1 for 10 and just was not himself. Where it was all on Durant as an underdog, which he was, considering how battered that team looks. Incredible performance.
Yeah, he was the best player in the NBA. You've heard my comparison. He's Larry Bird. He takes over a team when he wants and can defer when he needs to. He's Larry Bird. He's the closest thing that I've seen since Bird.
And that's why, he's a top 10 to 15 player of all time.
Does this get him higher? Look, I think he's underrated.
I think where did I have him? I think I had him at 12.
Yeah, I think he. Look. I'm not sure he's underrated in year 12. I think he's an underrated player in the NBA right now.
Well, I think the way it plays out is this. He's never really been considered the best player in the league because of LeBron. And after LeBron's prime in the last 2 or 3 years, he's been injured. And he played with Golden State, where it's really difficult to give him credit in Golden State because that team was so damn talented it didn't matter. This was the rare occasion for him to be. Even with this Brooklyn team, like we've talked about, it's not a particularly likable Brooklyn team. With Harden and Irving, it's an extraordinarily talented team. But rarely do you see him need to do this or need to play a game like he did last night in this circumstance, in this situation. And all credit to him, he did, and he was bleeping sensational.
Yeah. Definitely took over that game. And I didn't watch it live. I watched most of it on a recording today because I heard about it last night.
Well, you heard about it from me this morning.
That too. But any player that goes off of 49 against an all-defensive team duo.
Against the best defensive team in the league.
Yeah. So you think they're going to pull it out?
Brooklyn? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think this game demoralized Milwaukee. I do. I think they win in 7. I think Harden is they're gonna keep Harden pretty contained tomorrow night at Milwaukee, and and then at home at Game 7, I think they pull it out. And then I don't know I assume we're going to see Kyrie sometime in the middle of the next series. That's my guess.
Okay, now we're moving on to the other series in the West, where another injury basically ruined the Clippers this year. Again.
Yeah, the Clippers aren't winning the series without Kawhi. Kawhi's been the second or third best player in the playoffs, depending on your views on Chris Paul and Donovan Mitchell. Utah's going to win this series, and then they come back, and you have Mike Conley coming back from an injury, and you have Chris Paul coming off of COVID. It is a weird playoff.
Well, but we're not sure at this point what Chris Paul is in the protocol for.
Yes.
So it may be that he doesn't have COVID.
No, I'm just not saying he does, but there's obviously something came about.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, how much fun would a Phoenix-Utah series be?
Oh, it'd be
to watch. Not for ratings. It'll be awful for ratings, but to watch it'll be great.
No, but it'll be everything that we want to see, right?
You'll have to stay up till 12:30 at night to watch it.
There are things you sacrifice. I mean, look, as an Islander fan, I was up till 11:30 last night watching that game. It started 8 o'clock. But do you think Kawhi opts out now, or do you stay? He's got a player option.
I think he opts out and resigns. Where is he going to go? Miami? I mean, he wanted to be in LA. He wanted to bring in a star player. He's done that. But he's the hardest guy in the league to read. So, I mean, nobody really has a feel. To me, I don't know why he would leave. Unless he doesn't want to pay California state taxes anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You think he gets the max?
Yeah.
So he's going to opt. I mean, the interesting thing is he was looking at a 1-1 supposedly because if he opts out next year, he gets the max of the max, right? 35%. It would be interesting to see whether he's going to go that route because based on the injury, he may not play next year.
He may not play next year?
He tore his ACL.
It is torn.
That's what the report that I read was.
Okay, they hadn't confirmed it yet. They said I saw hurt, I didn't see torn. Yeah, it could be a sprained ligament. Suffered a right knee sprain in their game 4 victory.
Okay.
Where do we see torn ACL?
The team fears ACL injury, according to CBS.
Okay.
He has a right knee sprain. Further testing is presumably needed to determine whether it's ACL tear. So maybe I jumped to the conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's be honest. If you're him and you're tore your ACL, you're probably opting in.
That's what I was
Well, look, Kevin Durant tore his Achilles, and
that's the thing, right? So,
they still signed him.
Do you think a team would be willing to go 4 years and max money on Kawhi Leonard based on?
Well, we know they're not going to do. If he tore his ACL, we know they're not going to do a 1-1.
It won't be their choice.
Well, no, you're not going to do a 1-1 if your first year that you're paying him $30 million, he's hurt, and then he can opt out again.
You don't think he'll get it from somebody?
A 1-1 deal? No.
Maybe.
No, if he tore his ACL? No. That's absurd. Why would you pay someone $30 million and he may not come back next year? That makes no sense.
I agree. Okay, so you're picking the Jazz or the Clippers going forward?
Jazz. If Kawhi doesn't come back, I think Utah wins the series.
Okay, then we have Utah, Phoenix, which is what you and I want the entire time.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Well, look, I'll be honest, I didn't think Phoenix was this good. I didn't. I mean, they've been absolutely sensational in this. The Denver is a weird matchup because Denver's backcourt is decimated, but Phoenix was wonderful against the Lakers, and they were excellent against. And look, I'd like to see Chris Paul make a final. I mean, we talk about great players that have never won championships, but who's the best player? I mean, just trying to think this off the top of my head, who's the best player never to make a final? Dominique?
I'm doing it in my head. There's got to be a list somewhere online.
Probably. I can.
Best players not to make a NBA final. Let's see. Westbrook. Harden. Howard. Vince Carter.
Wait. Who's Howard?
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard absolutely made a final with Orlando. They lost to They lost to the Lakers.
Didn't he make it with the Lakers?
He may have also made it. Yeah, well, he made it last year with the Lakers.
Yeah,
what list are you looking at?
Okay,
No,
here we go.
Steve
Nash, 57 games.
Okay.
Chris Paul. Joe Johnson. Sidney Moncrief. Jermaine O'Neal. Paul George. Chris Webber. Vince Carter. Walter Davis. Bob Lanier. LaMarcus Aldridge. My boy Alex English. Carmelo Anthony. George Gervin. Lou Hudson.
George Gervin made an ABA championship, so I don't want to hear. That's not relevant to me.
Okay. Dominique. Tim Hardaway. Derrick Rose. Mark Price.
Okay, so I get the point.
You're going to go to Artis Gilmore. You're going to give me the same ABA.
I mean, literally, you're looking the two best players on that list.
How about Yao Ming?
The two best players on that list are Chris Paul and Steve Nash.
Yep.
And Steve Nash was one weird injury, weird play against the Spurs from going. So for all intents and purposes, Chris Paul is the greatest player ever to never make a final.
Okay. I can give you that.
I lost some.
It would be nice to see him do that, right?
You know who you didn't mention on that list? Bernard King.
No, he was later.
Oh.
It was based on the amount of playoff games.
Okay.
So Bernard King was. He only won 11 playoff games in his career. And David Thompson won 10.
Yeah, but David Thompson's prime was in the ABA.
Correct. And Dominique won 22 playoff games and lost to the Celtics in 1988. That was the
Well, Atlanta ran into a massive buzzsaw. Think about the Eastern Conference in the 80s. Wilkins comes in 83 after taking Georgia to the Final Four in 82. Or 80 comes in 83 after taking him in 83. The beginning, you have the Celtics, led by Bird, McHale, Parrish, so on and so forth, and the 76ers, led by Dr. J and Moses. All these people in Mochise, all these people Hall of Famers. You kind of go closer to your prime in the mid to late 80s, and you have still the Celtics, because the Celtics 86 team is considered one of the three greatest teams of all time. You have the beginning of the Pistons, and you have the Bulls. Those Atlanta teams were good, with Mookie Blaylock, and was Mookie Blaylock there, or am I dating myself wrong here? He was afterwards. But you had Dominique and Kevin Willis and Tree Rollins.
Hold on. I'm going to guess. Mookie was drafted in 1992. For some reason, that's sticking out. I'm going to go look that up. I think it was drafted in 1992.
I think he was earlier, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, you're right. 1989.
Yeah, because he was on the team that lost with Oklahoma that lost to Tanny Manning.
Hold on. But he played with the Nets the first 3 years. And then played with the Hawks starting in 92.
Okay. So.
But you're right. Those 80s teams were phenomenal.
Exactly.
Kevin Willis was a beast.
Yeah, he was your typical 19, 20, and he was your 20 and 10 guy. 20-8, 18-10. Like, he was a really, really high-end power forward. They were good. They had Doc Rivers was their point guard.
Yep.
So
Kevin Willis played 24 years.
Yeah, he played forever.
In the NBA. With the Hawks, he averaged 14 points and 11 boards.
Okay, I thought he averaged more point-wise, but I'm sure he had a couple seasons that were 17 or 18 and 10.
He did. He had a 21 and 13 was his best year. That was 94-95.
And, I mean, look, the Atlanta teams in the early 90s were going against the crux of Jordan, so that wasn't good. But they were past their prime by that point. Their prime was the 87, I believe, when they lost to the Celtics, as you said, in Game 7, in the semis. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks had the same problem. You had the Sidney Moncrief, Alvin Robertson, Terry Cummings, Ricky Pierce, Marquise Johnson, Jack Sikma. Like, there's some Hall of Famers in there. They could only get to the semi. They couldn't get past the Celtics and Lakers. They were really, really good teams.
No, and that's the point, right? One team gets you there. When you get into the Pistons and the Bulls and the in the 90s, each decade in those 70s, 80s, and 90s had two or three teams that just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, it stopped in the East really after Jordan. I mean, in 94, 95, the Knicks went, Orlando went, but Orlando had no longevity. The Knicks went twice in 5 years, but they were two very different teams.
Correct.
Yeah, but no, Chris Paul very well may have gone to the finals a couple years ago if he didn't get injured with Houston. He's got a very young team. But whoever he plays is not, especially with now Kawhi looking like he'll be out for the rest of the series, and we don't know how much going further, you're going to be playing against a similarly inexperienced team at this level.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. All right. So you want to talk about stickiness?
It's baseball. I mean, it's relative, but I guess I'm confused by this whole thing.
Okay.
This has been going on for however long, and they've never enforced any of this. And now in the middle of the season, they're going to first start enforcing stuff. Isn't this something that should have happened either before the season or after the season, but not during?
Okay. So forever, you were able to go behind the mound and use a rosin bag,
right?
So depending on the weather, the rosin was either very hard or very soft because the bag would change consistency for lack of a better term. Pitchers decided that the rosin bag wasn't enough, and they started using different substances, whatever those substances were. Don Sutton, if you recall, used pine tar.
Yep.
They got thrown out of a playoff game. And Jay Howell got thrown out of a playoff game.
I was at that game.
Were you really?
Yep. That game was Game 3 of the 88 NLCS. And the night before, there was a 4-hour rain delay. And my dad wanted to bleeping kill me because I wouldn't leave. And my dad's one of those people who, as he's gotten older, has got more cynical about sports and hasn't cared as much over the years. So we sat there in like 35-degree weather in the rain for 4 hours. They rained it out, and then we had to go back the next day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now, understand.
I don't think my father's ever been to a baseball game since.
Seth does not live near Shea Stadium.
No.
It's probably an hour and a half drive for you.
Hour and change, yeah.
So you sit through the rain delay, it gets canceled, you have to drive home.
Yeah.
Then you turn it around at 10:30 in the morning and drive back.
My father was not amused.
So anyway, so different players use different things. And one of the most common was sunscreen. Because players put sunscreen on their face or on their arm or wherever. So they're able to use whatever they could use. I mean, if you watch the movie Major League, where the guy is putting snot on the ball. And Charlie Sheen says something to the effect of, how can you put snot on the ball? And his response was, when you don't have an arm like yours, you put whatever you can on the ball in order to throw it the way you want it. So Tyler Glass now, who is 10-2 in the last 12 months, basically tore his UCL yesterday, and he blamed it on not being able to use the substances that he has been using his whole career. I'm not sure he doesn't have a point. He says he has to grip the ball harder, which I assume is true. So, but they did say Seth, at the beginning of this year that's what they were going to do. This is not mid-year. We're going to start doing this.
Yeah.
So anyway.
How does this impact DeGrom's year?
I think it depends on what goes on from now until the end of the year. I mean, if you feel that he is using substances and they're cracking down now, I think that brings more legitimacy to him if he continues doing what he's doing. If he all of a sudden falters, well, then we know somewhat what that was attuned to. But right now, Jake DeGrom is according to Vegas, the leader in the clubhouse for MVP voting as a pitcher. Yeah. Well, he's having a year, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about we had this discussion last, in the. I forget. I don't know if we had this discussion on the show, but we had this. I think we had this discussion. So for everybody who's listening, we talk about twice a week driving to the office when I'm driving, and we just kind of go off on these tangents that we go off on the show. And we talked about this, about whether he's a Hall of Famer if he wins another Cy Young.
He is.
Well, also based on. Because this is, relatively speaking, this is Koufaxian. Or as close to a 6 or 7 year Koufaxian run as you're going to see for getting the wins because the team hasn't had the talent to give him wins.
Well, and the fact that he went through a COVID year where he couldn't accumulate wins, right? So, I mean, if he pulls off the Cy Young again this year, he's a top three Cy Young Award winner in the last 5 years. Each of the last 5 years, and has won 3 out of 5. That's as close as you're going to get. If not better than what Koufax used to do.
Although probably Koufax had better competition at that level. Just trying to think through here. I mean, he was going against in the early 60s. Against the end of Warren Spahn, he had Juan Marchial, he had Bob Gibson he was going against.
Sure.
I'm not sure if Scherzer's really, really good. But I'm not sure if DeGrom has faced that same level. But that takes nothing away from what he's done. He's been ridiculous over the last 7 years.
And you can play the other way in that Sandy Koufax never played against the DH.
Yeah.
Which last year, that's what DeGrom did.
That was a 1 year. Yeah.
Oh, agreed. Just saying. There's something there. Okay, so we got 5 minutes left. We will work on this communication thing for next week. So we don't have these echoes. So apologies on that. I think that there are always those players that pass away that you're not exactly sure who these players are. But a guy Jim Mudcat Grant passed away this week.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Yes, he did. Mudcat Grant played for Indians, the Twins, the Dodgers, the Expos, the Cardinals, the Athletics, and the Pirates. And when you think of him, first of all, he got his nickname in his first training camp. Red Ruffin was in charge of making assignments, and he kept calling the name Mudcat Grant. Grant thought it was another Grant, and in 3 days he realized he was just calling him that, and it just stuck, which makes no sense whatsoever. But Mudcat Grant was the leading pitcher on the Twins World Series team in
66. 65.
Yeah.
66 with the Orioles. 65.
Yeah, you're right. So rest in peace, Mudcat Grant.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we didn't talk about this week is, you talk about someone dying in their 70s, 80s, and then you have a soccer player in his prime of his career collapsing in the middle of a soccer game at age 29. Christian Eriksen, the best player on the Denmark team during the European Championships. The way Denmark handled it was a lot better than how the European soccer governing body handled it, which is not a surprise, because anyone who follows soccer knows that all these governing entities are just horror shows. The man almost dies. He was dead on the field and was resuscitated. Denmark, the players Kasper Schmeichel, who's the goaltender for Leicester City in the EPL, the captain, I don't remember his last name, who gave him mouth to mouth, helped take his tongue out of his, gave him CPR, got his tongue out of his mouth, consoled his wife. The whole team surrounds the player. They get him off, after 25 minutes. And I watched this. This was horrifying. It didn't make sense because I missed the actual happening, because you don't really know what happens, and I rewound it and just watched him drop. It was similar to watching Hank Gathers 25 years ago. 1990, 30 years ago now. Where just literally in the middle of a play just drops. Nothing really prompted it. And the infinite wisdom of the European Soccer Championships governing body was their best player, their captain, almost dies, is dead, is resuscitated, they don't know what kind of shape he's in. And they give him the options of playing an hour later or a day later. Seriously, but how are people this stupid? If we have a COVID issue, it's pushed back 48 hours. You are playing pretty much every 5 to 6 days you get to play. I'm really comfortable with the fact that, I forget off the top of my head if it was Finland or whoever it was that they played in the second game. They played in that game. Would have been okay if they pushed this back 2 or 3 days.
At least.
I think people would have been okay with it. Use bleeping common sense. It's not that hard. Well, apparently it is for soccer governing bodies, but it isn't for anybody else.
Absolutely.
Idiots.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.